Hi everybody, Tex-Mex here. Thanks for joining me for another video. This is going to be a fun one. Today we're looking at the Model 87 Cheetah, one of my favorite Berettas. Since I just did a video on the Model 21A, I figured I needed to show off my Model 87 Cheetah. This is a highly coveted pistol, at least in the Beretta community. Not many get imported that often. They're from the 81 series, which is basically, they're all compact blowback action pistols that were introduced back in 1976. And first ones were made to either shoot, well, they come in, I guess the 81 and 82 fire 32 ACP. Then they have the 380 auto versions that are the 83, 84, 85, and 86. And the 22s, which is the 87, 87 Target, and Model 89. And I guess the difference between this 87 and the 87 Target is that the Target is, I think, single action only. It has some other differences, but obviously that makes a big difference. It's single action only because this is a double action pistol. It is a full, well, I believe the frame is alloy. So this is a steel slide with an alloy frame. It's got fixed 3-dot sights, as you can see there. Magazine is a 10-round magazine, and let me see here. It is got a frame mounted safety, so it's up or down. There you go. So it's standard. It's it does have a magazine safety in there. So the magazine has to be in, and let's check it just to show. It is a firearm that is not loaded. There is the slide release, and you can fire it in single action. And I'm going to drop the hammer slowly just because this is a 22 long rifle, and as most people know, you don't want to be dry firing rim fires too much. But it also works in double action. If your hammer is down, you can pull it back. And the safety will either keep your hammer down and disengage the trigger, or it also allows you to carry it cocked and locked. So a very, very pretty pistol. Basically, I think it was a great way to bring a lot of people into shooting. This firearm I've used to train a few people before I started them on 9mm or other larger semi-automatic pistols. It's a way to introduce somebody to what looks like a, compact size semi-automatic pistol, and it has basically all the same functions as your typical semi-automatic pistols, but it's in 22, so it barely kicks, and it shoots great. It weighs about 20 ounces, so it's relatively light. And I do not own any of the 380 or 32s. I don't have any of the other Cheetahs, shall I say. So I wish I had another Model 80 some to compare it to, but there is one pistol I have to compare it to. And what we're going to compare it to is the Browning BDA. Now, why am I comparing my Beretta to a Browning, you ask? Well, for those of you in the know-how, probably already know the answer to that question. But for those of you who don't, let me get this a little bit closer. Yeah, you're not going to really be able to make that out. I apologize. GoPros are not great for focusing at almost any distance. But right there in the center, you will see the PB and made in Italy. That is correct. The Browning BDA was made by Beretta for Browning. And lo and behold, look. It looks almost exactly like the Model 81 series. So this one and your typical Browning 81 through 89 will look very, very, very similar. I mean, just look at the trigger guards, look at the grips, look at the slides. Some of the biggest differences being, obviously, this has a small ejection port versus the very, very famous Beretta large open ejection port over the barrel, which kind of gives Beretta their iconic look. The Browning, it does not have that. It just has one small ejection port. Another big difference is that the Browning has, as you can see here, it's a little stiff because it hasn't been fired much. See, it worked it on its own. It's got the decocker. So since it was unsafe, even after cocking or pulling back the slide, it dropped the hammer automatically. So it's a slide mounted safety that works as a decocker, very much like the 92 series. But other than that, as you can see, let me show them here real quick. Oh, let me drop the slide on this guy and slowly drop the hammer. You will notice that they are very, very similar pistols as far as size and style. But unfortunately, as I said, if I had a Beretta in 380 or 32 in the 81 series, I'd definitely show it to you as a comparison, but I don't. Not much else to say other than it is a beautiful pistol. If you could ever get your hands on one of these, I definitely recommend it. Finding magazines can be a little tricky, but when you do, they're just a lot of fun to shoot out. As I said, it's a fixed 3-dot sight, alloy frame, double and single action with the frame mounted safety. It's about 20 ounces. And they are limited in import. So if you see one and you're thinking about getting it, you kind of have to jump on it or else it's going to disappear. I did not buy this one new. This one I was able to get in a trade. I was very happy I did, and I very much enjoyed shooting this pistol. One of the things I haven't done is take it to the range and compare different types of ammunition through it. So that is what we're going to do. So enough of my yapping. Let's go ahead and take this out to the range, fire a few different types of 22 through it, and see if it has a preference. And here we are at the range with the Beretta 87 Cheetah. We're going to put some rounds on paper, see if this pistol prefers, and we're going to try a few different types of ammunition here. But before we do that, just to have a little fun, I've loaded 8 rounds. I thought this was a 10-round magazine, but I was only able to load 8 rounds in it comfortably. The 9th one seemed very tight, so I didn't force it in. I have another magazine, so I'm going to test it as well, but I had assumed these were 10-round magazines, but it's been a while since I've shot this pistol, and it may only be 8 rounds. So let's load it up, have a little fun here. Really is a lot of fun to shoot. So I tried both magazines I have, and it does seem that 8 rounds is the maximum capacity for these magazines. So let's start with, we're going to put in 8 rounds of CCI Standard Velocity. I apologize for the noise of the wind is picking up on the camera. As usual, I came out here, was nice and still, set up all my targets, and then it seems like the hurricane starts to show up. Let's go. I mean, we're at a very close distance here. We're at 15 yards. We're gonna see how we do on these targets. Okay. Seems like we're hitting a bit to the right. I already have my second magazine loaded. The second one is loaded with CCI Mini-Mag, the target 40 grain. Let's see if our point of impact is any different than the standard velocity. Woo! Ha ha ha! Hot casing fell right on my arm. Let's try that again. Oh, another one. Seems to want to eject these right back at me. I believe this is the last round. There we go. And we're not that far away, so I can definitely see that the Beretta likes those 40 grain mini mags a lot more than that standard velocity. But now let's keep going, and I'm going to load up some of the 30, is it 36 or 38? It's the 36 grain varmint and the Norma Tac. So let's get that loaded up and we'll keep on going with our shoot. And next on the docket will be the Norma Tac 40 grain lead round nose. Let's see how the Beretta likes that one. Oh gosh, this wind. Okay, I'm gonna give it a second. There we go. And last but definitely not least, more CCI Mini-Mags, this time the 36 grain varmint. What are these? Hollow points. Let's see how this little guy likes hollow points. Okie doke. And here we are, back with our target. So I guess overall, if you're looking at the groups, it seems that the 40 grain CCI Mini-Mag did the best. If I had to bet, I was going to figure that the Standard Velocity CCI would group the tightest. And not that there's a humongous difference here. Once again, I don't have calipers. But on the Norma Tac, which usually is really good, it seemed to kind of spread out a bit. Same with the 36 grain CCIs. I mean, this was a good little group here, but then I had one flyer up here. The Standard Velocity grouped a few well, but as well I had a couple of outliers. But the 40 grain Mini-Mag really seemed to keep them a lot tighter. It's also interesting and something that you can always show with 22s. This is fixed sights. I wasn't changing my sights or changing my point of aim for any of these targets. For every type of ammunition, I was aiming dead center at the red dot. In fact, I was doing combat sight system where I was basically putting dot on dot. So my front dot sight was resting on this dot. And you can see how with the Standard Velocity, it shot off to the right a little bit. With the Norma, it shot down into the left a little bit. The 36 grain Mini-Mags actually centered them pretty well. If it wasn't for this flyer, I think it would probably win, like I said. Although that's a tough one because the 40 grain also centered them relatively well. You could see that it drifted them a little bit to the right more than the other ones, but certainly not enough for me to ever want to mess with either of the sights, the front or rear sights on my pistol, because I think it's doing just fine. And in the future, I think I'm going to try more of the Mini-Mags and shoot both of them through it and see if maybe with more rounds it'll start to prefer one over the other. Anyway, it was also interesting to note they claim 7-round magazines, and maybe the original ones were 7 rounds. I think you can buy 8-round magazines. Both the magazines I have for the Model 87 are 8-round magazines, so I apologize. I know in my intro video I think I said they were 10-round magazines. Once again, thanks for watching. This was a lot of fun. As I stated earlier, if you can get your hands on one of these little babies, consider yourself lucky. They're heirloom quality, something fun to shoot for adults and kids alike, and definitely a great training firearm to step up to something larger, because it has the controls of any standard semi-automatic, but in a smaller size and with almost no recoil. So anyhow, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.